Hey there everybody, welcome to my channel. I am so glad you're here. Have you ever wanted to paint, but you just never really gave it a try? I have got the painting for you. Hey, it all started somewhere. Okay, well, come on up here to the palette and let's see what we have. I have a 12-inch by 16-inch canvas that I have gessoed and allowed it to dry. I've received a few questions about gesso and your white medium, whether it be liquid white or magic white or amazing white or liquid first coat white. Those are just four of the brand names that I know. But I've been getting a lot of questions about it. Gesso. That is an acrylic primer, okay? This is an acrylic. You can paint oils on top of acrylics, but not the other way around. But that is an acrylic that I am preparing my canvas with. That's all I do is I'm preparing it, and then I allow it to dry. And it, you know, you can speed up the dry time with an acrylic with the hair dryer if you're in a hurry. I've done that. Or you can allow it to just air dry. It'll take it, you know, I'd give it an hour if you just allow it to air dry. It'll be dry. Now, your white medium, whatever brand it is, or if you make it yourself, like I do, is an oil paint. And if I turn this up, it is running slowly, kind of like ketchup, but it would pour out of here. I can't put it up here. Now, I make my own white medium because I use water mixable oils, and I haven't been able to find a water mixable white medium. The way that I do that is I take my titanium white and let me open up a drawer here because I didn't have it out. My linseed oil. Both of these are water mixable. They're the Artisan line from Winsor Newton. And I will mix these equal parts. Okay? So that is your oils. Now, I don't routinely use a white medium. I like a clear medium, and the one I prefer is linseed oil. Refined linseed oil. So I don't routinely use a white medium, but I'm going to today. I had a young gentleman come in with his dad and his sister to my booth at an art show, and he said he was going to subscribe to my channel because he wants to be an artist. And so I am going to do this painting for him, and it's going to be a beginner's painting, first time. It's gonna, but you're gonna love it. You're gonna paint it and you're gonna surprise yourself. So if you've never painted before, this will be a good one to give a shot. Now, using the white medium, I think that's a good way to start out. That way you're not mixing so much here on your palette, and color mixing is a whole nother long subject, quite honestly, and you learn that as you go. But when you're first starting out, you don't really need to do a whole lot of mixing there. This white, these colors will mix in with the white that I'm going to put on here. Okay, so why don't we talk about our brushes? I am going to be using a couple of Winsor Yachtsman brushes. Now, you can pick these things up at your local hardware store, your local paint store, you know, like where you would buy house paints, like Sherwin-Williams or Porter Paints or something. I think they're about, well, honestly, I haven't bought any in probably well over a year, so I don't know if the price has gone up like everything else. Good Lord, I went to Taco Bell tonight. Wow. Anyways, you can pick these things up. I think when I did buy them a year or two ago, they were like $5 each. Okay. I'm also going to be using a couple of fan brushes. These are mighty old. I'm going to be honest with you, mighty old. This is a size number 4. This is a size number 2. I'll be using those. What else will we be using? I will be using my liner brush. Got a little fuzz on there. I'll be using my liner brush. Now the fan brushes, this liner brush, you can expect to spend, like, say at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, someplace like that, you can expect to spend anywhere from $6 to on up. You know, these fan brushes, they're Simply Simmons. I bought those at Michael's. This one is a Princeton Select liner brush. Also picked them up at Michael's, so somewhere in that price range. You know, if you're not wanting to break the bank, like me. So those are the brushes I'll be using. If I pick up another brush or something, I'll let you know what it is and about how much I think I spent for it. So I think, I'll also be using a palette knife. I don't know, $4 at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Plaza Art, something like that. Now colors. What colors do we have? I have, well, first, again, I'm using the Winsor Newton Artisan water mixable oil paints. And I picked these colors here because you can usually find these colors in a set. Titanium white, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, olive green. I am not a huge fan of this green, so we might do a little bit of mixing with this to try and get it to the shade that we want it, okay? I'm not a huge fan of it, but for some reason in the water mixable Artisan line, sap green, which I prefer, is a premium color. It's not like that with their other lines of traditional oils, but I don't know, maybe there's something special about water mixable sap green. So they give you olive green, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, and if you happen to get magenta instead of crimson, it's fine, no problem. Burnt sienna, burnt umber, and lamp black. Okay, so with that, let's get to boogieing. All right, so we're going to take us a 1-inch brush, and we're going to get some of that medium, that white medium, liquid white, magic white, amazing white, liquid first coat white, which is the Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby carries that. It's made by Grumbacher. Whatever it is, or if you make it yourself like I do. What you want to do is just start putting it on your canvas. Now, if you notice, the gesso that I used is gray. As you can see by this liquid, well, not liquid white, this white medium. I do that on purpose. I like my canvases to have some sort of a tone to them. A stark white canvas, I don't prefer those. And so what I do is I have some white gesso. Again, remember, that's an acrylic. White gesso, and I have some black gesso, and I'll just take a couple of drops and add it to my white gesso. One of the added benefits of gessoing my own canvases, and I gesso them gray, is that when I do use a white medium, I can see where I need more. So I'm just going to cover this whole canvas. And I'm just working it into that canvas. So why do I gesso my canvases? because you can buy them already gessoed. You know, sure, you know, so why do I do it besides the color choices? Well, when you oil paint, you do not always want your canvas to get dry. You don't want it to be dry. And so you put your medium on, such as linseed oil or white medium. You could actually take a few drops of whatever color you want and add it to the your white medium and make it, really, you could tone it any color you want. This could be like a pale green. I know there are some brands out there that have a black medium. So all I'm doing here is going back and forth, spreading that out, make sure it's all even. So anyways, getting back on subject, many times when I have bought a canvas that says it has been double primed or triple primed with gesso, I'll put my medium on and that canvas will soak it right up. I mean, just like, and suddenly I'm left with a dry canvas. And if you're trying to do a wet on wet painting, you really don't want a dry canvas. And so after getting burned on that so many times, I decided I was going to start gessoing my canvases myself. Do my canvases dry out? I've had them dry out before, even after I've gessoed them. Does it happen often? No, it really doesn't. Not often. So, there we go. So that is on there. So we have our white medium on. I'm just gonna kind of clean that brush out as much as possible. I'm not a big fan of washing my brushes during a painting. Now, how do I know I have enough? I do the thump test. What I do is I have on my right hand, I will go pinky, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, thumb. Went 4 corners in the center. And what I want is, I want to, and I don't know how this is going to translate to the camera. I want to still be able to see my fingerprint. But I do want the white on there. And so that's about how much I want right there. Hopefully that translates to the camera all right. Now that is the liquid white. Right? Excuse me. Back that up. That is the white medium. That is the white medium. This is not liquid white. This is Dale Cullen Art Made. Okay. So, I'm just spreading that back out. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so there we go. So, now this brush, it's had white paint in it. Oil, remember, this is oil paint. It's going to stay wet. So that's going to be my lighter colored brush, my highlighter brush, you know. So we're going to take this brush now, and I am going to come over here to my Phthalo Blue, and I'm just going to pull it on out. There we go. I'm going to tap it into my bristles. Okay, just tap, tap, tap. Now, what's the tapping doing? Let me pull a little more out. What's the tapping doing? It is making sure that the ends of my bristles are covered evenly with paint. Now, I'm going to start doing little X patterns right up here, starting in the corner. You see that? Little X patterns. And I'm just going to go all the way across the canvas. And as I'm doing this, that white medium is mixing. It's mixing with this phthalo blue. And I don't necessarily, what I want to do is I want to lighten up pressure as I go down here because I want it to mix more and more with that white. But you'll naturally, as you can see, your bristles will start getting lighter. And don't worry about, you know, if it's not looking even. We don't want it to look even. There we go. Okay. All right. Not bad. Not bad. I think we have the beginnings of a nice sky. I'm going to wipe that just to get some of that white out. And I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to do the same thing right again. Right there in that phthalo blue. Tapping it. Now, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to come down here to the bottom. And I'm going to start at the bottom. And I'm going to keep my lines or my brush as level as it can be, and I'm just going to go across this way. And as I go up, I lighten up the pressure a little bit. There we go. Okay, I know I want some water in here. I don't know exactly where all it's going to wind up, but it's all right. Now, I kept my brush. If you notice, I didn't turn my brush over. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go down here at the bottom with the other side of my brush and just come in. Trying to keep these strokes as level as possible. There we go. All right. And this little space right here, that's okay. We want to leave that for right now. Leave that for right now. I'm just wiping my brush out a little bit. There we go. I'm going to get as much paint as I can out of it. Now, as I'm putting this paint on, I'm not, if you notice, you see where my paint was? It wasn't all the way down here. Just up here. Okay? So I didn't put a whole bunch of paint on there. You don't really have to. Now, if you need to put more, it's a whole lot easier to put more on than trying to take it off, if you know what I mean. So, now that I've wiped out that brush, I'm going to come up here with the same little X stroke pattern. And I'm just going to lightly blend this, blend this. There we go. Easy does it. On down. There we are. Okay. Now, you know what I like about oil paintings? You can change your mind about something. And I think I'm going to change my mind a little bit. Just a little bit. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. I just wiped out my brush as much as I could. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to get a little bit of this Alizarin Crimson. Just pull it out and kind of tap, 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 tap. And I'm going to put a little bit of that Alizarin Crimson right in here. Now I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to get some more. Just tap, tap, tap. And I'm going to just put a little bit right there, right in the middle. Yeah, there we go. Now, wiping out my brush again as much as I can get it. And I'm going to come right up here in this crimson. And I am just going to do that little X pattern. There we go. Just kind of blend that right on in there. And let me move that light a little bit. Ooh, not there. I can't see the canvas. It's there. Okay. I'm wiping, and now I'm just going to go straight across. Very, 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 very lightly. I mean, I'm just kind of like letting the tips of the bristles caress that canvas. There we go. And now I'm just wiping out my brush. Okay. And now I'm going to keep these strokes as level as I can down here. This is going to wind up being our water. There we go. Okay. And when you're putting this in, you always want to just go from the outside in. From the outside in. If you go from the inside out, you'll have a hard line there. We don't want that. We don't see that in nature too often. Okay, now back and forth with very, very light pressure. There. Well, I think we're getting somewhere here. Let's say we put in some clouds. Okay. I'm going to take my number 4 fan brush, okay? Let's see. Let's take some white. I'm going to put that right there because I think I want to add just a little touch, a little more of a touch of crimson to that, just to make it just slightly pink. There we go. Now you gotta be real careful because you don't want to set the sky on fire, as old Bob used to say. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the corner of my brush, and I'm just going to kind of flick up in just random patterns. I might make a little circle here and there in random patterns, okay? Because a cloud can take any shape that it wants. So let's get a little more paint on our brush. Now this white is going to wind up mixing with this blue, because that's just the way it goes when you're painting. That's okay. There we go. Now, if you notice, down here, I kind of left that kind of flattened out, right? And there's a reason for that. The bottoms of the clouds are usually pretty flat. Take a look next time you got a bunch of clouds up in the sky. Okay, I just wiped out my brush, and I'm going to get some more paint now. Now I'm wiping out my brush because I'm picking up that blue, and I don't know if you can see it on camera or on your monitor, whatever you're watching it on, your phone, your iPad, your TV, but there's some blue right in there in that white when I came over and picked up some more. So trying to keep that blue down. Let's get a little more crimson in there, pink it up a little bit. There we go. Maybe we have another cloud over here. There is no pattern. There's no real rhyme or reason for how I'm putting this in. The only thing I'm doing is making random patterns here with my fan brush, but I'm not letting it sit in one location. You don't want to do that. Not good. Then you wind up with a big old puff ball. How do I know this? Because I have done it. I will admit it. We probably all have. Anybody who's been painting any amount of time. And if you haven't yet, you probably will. Like old Bob used to say, we've all mixed mud before. Or was that Bill? That might have been Bill. I don't know. I think it was Bob. You know, we've all been a mud mixer. Okay. That's when all your colors just start mixing together. Maybe we got another one right here, but he's off in the distance. So he's a little smaller back there. Okay. All right. Coolio. Okay, I'm just going to wipe out my fan brush and set it off to the side. And I'm going to grab our 1-inch brush that we put that white medium on with. Now I'm going to put my bristles on the canvas, and I'm not even going to lift my bristles. I'm just going to make circles, and I'm going to start down here. Now the top edges of your clouds, you want to kind of leave those alone, but you just kind of want to blend out this bottom. And if it, you just, it's hard to explain, but it's almost like you got to think like a cloud. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Again, I'm not taking my bristles off the canvas, and I'm using, I don't know if I mentioned it, I'm using just the corner. Just the corner. The bristles down on the bottom of the brush aren't even touching the canvas. Okay. And that right there, let's see. That one's kind of small, just like we wanted it, huh? Okay, and I'm gonna just kind of fluff these up. This is very, I mean, you're just barely touching the canvas. And I'm just gonna go back and forth on it. Bill Alexander used to call that hypnotizing it. Just gonna hypnotize these clouds. I'm going to kind of in a circular pattern. I'm just going to lift. And if you think it needs to circle back the other way, that's okay. I'm just going to lift, lift, lift. And don't worry about all these little striations that might come off. Don't worry, because when we go over it like that, they just kind of disappear. I got a little heavy-handed with that one. All right, and this one, like this right here, I think should circle up this way, and then it goes back this way. This one going that way. There we go, and boom. All right, I am okay with that. Wonderful. Now's a good time to pause and grab you some iced tea. That's some good iced tea. All right. I just looked over here at my white medium and the lid was off, so I just thought, I might want to put that back on. Okay. All right. So I think we need to make a mountain. We don't even have a molehill, but we're going to make a mountain, okay? So let's take some Phthalo Blue. Now here's a little bit of mixing that we're going to do, okay? We'll take some crimson, Alizarin Crimson, or magenta, like I said, either or. I'm going to take some of this green, maybe some burnt umber, and some black. What we want is a nice dark color. Okay, and I'm going to pick that up off the canvas and spread it out. Just mixing it up. There we go. All right. Now, I've always thought that it was easier to paint a mountain in with a brush. But I think on this one, I feel like making a mountain with the knife, okay? I mean, we're going to use a brush too, but we're going to start off with the palette knife. So what I'm going to do is come up here and I'm going to just get a little roll of paint. You see that? And spread that out and just cut across it. Cut across it. There we go. And then kind of decide how you want to shape your mountain. Maybe we got a nice And maybe it comes up like this. I don't want to get rid of that little cloud right there. I kind of like it. But, so maybe it comes up like here, and then it comes down and kind of fades off. Let's see. Maybe we go here. Now, I'm not real concerned about anything down here. What I'm concerned about is this top edge, because this will take care, we'll take care of that. But right now, we need to think about this edge, and that's going to define the shape of our mountain, that top edge. So maybe it comes like here, and it like comes here, yeah. Maybe there's a little bump right there, another one there. Maybe then it goes up, another bump, boom, and goes off. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, all I'm doing is just kind of like pulling off the excess. I'm kind of like staining the canvas almost. Okay. All right. You hear that? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to grab this brush. Is it that one? Oh. This is going to wind up being our darker brush anyways. So it's my 1-inch brush, and I'm just going to pull this down. Okay, and you can almost shape it like this. You can decide, you know, how's this mountain, what's the lay of the land of the mountain, or how does this mountain flow? Yes, a mountain does flow. At least in Dale's world it does. And there we are. Maybe it comes down here. Okay. All right. Fade on out there. Wow, look at there. We're building a mountain. We are building a mountain. Okay. Let me get rid of that. And now we need to think about highlights for our mountain. Right? Okay. So for highlights, do we want a little bit of snow? Yeah, or do we want to, yeah, maybe we'll have a little bit of snow. Or a little lighter color anyways. Okay, I'm going to take that pink that I made up there. There we are. In fact, I'm going to get some more white. Might as well make up a little bit. We made a big mountain. We might have to highlight quite a bit, huh? That's what you get. I remember Steve Ross telling me, Dale, I like the trees. There's a lot of them. Remember, every one you put in, you're going to need to highlight. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Steve. Okay, so we got some more pink there. All right. Now, what I'm doing is I'm pulling that out as flat as I can get it. Now I'm wiping off my knife, and I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to get me a little roll of paint. See that? A little roll of paint. Right there on the edge of the knife. Now I'm going to hold this knife very, very loosely, and I'm just going to barely touch the canvas with it. Just barely touch, and I'm going to pull that down. Start adding little highlights. Okay, now I'm going to wipe off my knife. I'll come up here, let's get some more. Now, the way I'm doing this, the sun's coming in from this direction. So if it's going this way, it'll be in shadow. Going this way, it'll be highlighted. And I don't want to put a whole lot of paint on there, and I don't want to add a whole lot of pressure, because all I'm wanting to do is just kind of let the paint touch. And I'm actually getting paint on my fingers from our water down here, because I'm holding it so lightly and it's such an angle. Now, are there other ways to do it? Sure. I'm using the most common palette knife I see. I like to highlight with this little guy here. Okay, it's also a palette knife, but I feel like I have a little more control, and I can move the paint a little bit easier to where I want it. Like right here, I want to bring some up here. There we go. Now, you don't want to get rid of all of your darks that are up here. Okay, you don't want to do that. You like to have some darks in there where you're putting your highlights, because if it's just all one highlight color, what's it highlighting? It's kind of hard to highlight a highlight, right? Okay, now maybe there's some right here. Got to make those sounds. If you don't, it doesn't work. There we go. Maybe that comes down this way. And maybe we got a little. Yeah, there we go. All right. And now you can also use this little short side just the same way. See there, a little tiny roll of paint. You can come up here and put that in. Highlight that little booger. There we go. Something just fell. Okay. Where else do we need some highlights? Surely we need some highlights. Yes, we do. Don't call me Shirley. It's my mom's name. Okay. Love my mom. Okay, let's see. I miss her. I've been kind of worried about her lately. I need to give her a call. I'll do that this weekend. Yeah, it's funny how they always worried about us growing up, and then once we're growing up, it's our turn to worry about them, right? You know, because we love them. It's just the way it is. Okay, let me gather up this pink. I think I'm done highlighting. Now I'm going to put in some shadows. Now, we're going to make use of this dark color under there, but we kind of want a mid-tone. Now I'm going to add some of this Phthalo Blue, and I mean, be careful, because it is extremely strong in comparison to your crimson. Okay, it is. It'll eat up all your crimson. So, but I do want to put some blue in this. Yeah, I might add a little more. It's easier to add more than try and take it away. And I'm just picking it up, mixing it. I don't care if it leans to the blue side. That's fine. I just don't want it like super duper blue. Okay, just a nice light lavenderish blue. In fact, there's even streaks and striations in there. I see some lavender. I see some streaks of blue. Might even have some streaks of pink still in there, and that is okay. I'm gonna do the same thing I did before. Get me a little roll of paint. I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna add a shadow. Even add a little more blue to that. Blue and purple are really good shadow colors. Really good shadow colors. I might actually do need to add a highlight over there. Nah. I think it's good. Okay. There we are. Maybe we will add a little more blue here. As you can see, I'm going sparingly. I don't want to overwhelm it all in blue all at once. Okay, awesome. And maybe I'll take that little fan brush here. It's got a little bit of that pink color on there. I might even that I just looked like there was a line there and I didn't like it, so I'm just kind of fixing it with a little bit of color. You know, nothing wrong with that. Grab a little more of that. And there we are. Just another little technique that you can use. Just kind of tapping and pulling. Okay? All right. I like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this is going to be my darker brush, but it's not really dark right now because I keep wiping all the paint out, and that's okay. So I'm going to wipe it out again, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to just tap. And I'm going to tap up the mountain, but I'm going to follow the shape of the mountain. Okay, like this is a shadow side, so it's going up this way. And all I'm doing, and here's the highlight, that way, this one's going this way. All I'm doing is I'm creating some mist. Mist is a good separator. There we are. Because once I put, there we go. Once I put some something in front of this, that mist is going to separate them, and it's actually going to help push that mountain back. We're going to push that mountain back into the background. So now I'm going to take my number 2 fan brush that I haven't used yet, and I'm going to get some olive green. We'll just put it right there, that's fine. Some olive green, and I'm going to put some white with it. I'm just going to get some of this white. And you know what? I think I might even grab that pink. Okay. There we are. All right. Now what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to come up here, and I am going to just use the top corner of my brush, and all I'm doing with the top corner of my brush is this. You see that? I'm just tapping. Not real hard. I'm just tapping. And when I start running out of paint, if I need to, I can flip my brush over and use the other corner. But we're going to add some shape here, and maybe we have a little hill. Now, these are just going to be distant trees, okay? So distant that you're not really able to make out any detail. Let's see, that was some sap green. Not sap green, olive green. I don't have any sap green on the palette. Olive green and some of this pink. Now, green and red are complementary colors, and if you mix them together, they will make a brown. Well, I have some red and the crimson in here, and so, of course, the olive green. It's not making it brown because I don't have enough crimson, but all it's doing is just kind of dulling it down a little bit. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm varying the sizes, the shapes, because there we go. You know, that one might be tall, that one might be short. Maybe we have another tall one here, maybe there. The trick is, you don't want to like get into the habit of repeating a pattern. There we go. Now what I've done is I've just turned my brush this way. I've just turned it flat, and I'm just kind of tapping here, and I'm just giving it a little bit of ground to sit on. That's all. See there? Okay. And that should look like distant trees way off there. Now see, we put that in front of the mountain, and it kind of pushed it back. All right. Let's do this again, but this time maybe we'll come from right here, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to make that a little darker, and I might even add a little bit of phthalo blue to it to make it darker. And maybe this one. Maybe it just comes down like this. Okay, all that. Maybe we'll even add a touch of black to it, just to darken it up even more. Okay. And as I go back here, I'm just going to get it smaller and smaller. There we are. Okay, now, again, I'm just going to turn my fan brush to the side, and I'm going to give it a little bit of land to sit on. There we go. Okay, awesome. Okay, now maybe we can get us some, I'm going to take some of this phthalo blue, let's put it right there on top of that green that we've been using. And let's take some of this yellow ochre. Now, yellow and blue makes a green, right? Okay, maybe I'll even add a little bit of cadmium yellow to that, just to brighten it up a little bit. And make it a little Yeah, let's try this. What's this look like? All right, maybe we'll go a little bit more blue and we'll add some black to it just to darken it up a little bit. There we go. Here I am mixing colors, and I said we shouldn't really have to mix too many colors, right? I am so sorry about that. It's just a habit. So I just want a dark color, and I am going to make a tree here. Let's make an evergreen tree right about here. Okay, now all I did was I just made a line using my fan brush. See, it's my nice dark color. And I'm loading that fan brush pretty darn full. Really full. Now I'm going to use the corner of my brush and I'm just going to tap almost in a zigzag pattern. Actually, definitely in a zigzag pattern. And then we'll get down here. Now, what I'm doing is I'm building my tree. What I'm putting in right now is what you see in the background. Back in the shadows. We're going to add some highlights to this. Now, when I start running out of paint, I just flip my brush over. Now, I'm just using the corner of my brush, and so both corners are full. When I run out of paint on one corner, I can flip it over and use the other. Okay. So there's that tree. Okay. Now I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to take some burnt umber and some white, just a little bit of white, just to lighten it up a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to cut across just like we were doing for our mountains, okay? I'm just going to cut across, and I'm very, very lightly going to touch right where that tree trunk should be. And I'm just touching and picking it up. Touch and pick it up. Touch and pick it up. Okay, and you get that dark color on there. You can wipe it off, and if you don't think you have enough of that trunk put in there, now it doesn't have to be solid. You can always pick up a little more and just touch and pick up. The canvas will keep what it wants, and it'll give you back the rest. Okay? So now we have our trunk in. So we have our background color, now our trunk, and now I'm going to take a lighter color. I'm going to take a lighter color. I'm going to take my lighter, yeah, it's my number 4 fan brush. It's the one that has the lighter paint in it. Okay, and I'm going to grab some yellow ochre, and maybe a little bit of olive green. Now you've got 2 layers. If you take into account the tree trunk, you have 2 layers on here now. Okay, so you might have trouble getting it to stick. The way to remedy that is with a little bit of linseed oil. I am just going to touch the corner of my brush in that linseed oil, and then I'm going to put it up here, mix it in. I don't want a whole lot. I can always add more. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to thin that paint down a little bit. Just going to thin it down a little bit, and a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. I bet a lot of you guys didn't know that a thick paint will stick to a thin paint too. It will. Okay, now I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did to put that darker color on. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Corner of my brush. And I'm just going to lightly touch. Lightly. As I come down. There we go. And we've got us a little evergreen tree. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and just put in a little bit of ground here. It's got to have something to stand on, right? And all I'm doing is I'm just tapping. Just tap, tap, tap. Now, up here, what I can do is I can touch my brush, the corner of my brush to the canvas and lift, lift, lift. Now, if I do it straight on, I get a smiley face. But if I do the corner, I can just lift, lift, lift. And that's what I'm going to do to create a little bit of grass. Now, don't worry, this, I know it may be hard to see right now, but we're going to highlight this too. There we go. There we go. Okay. And maybe we have another tree that lives right here. We're going to make it the same way. Maybe he's a little bit taller. He's been here a little bit longer. Or maybe he's just closer to us, eh? Well, listen to me. I'm not Canadian. Okay. Hey? That is a place I want to go one day. I want to visit Canada. I really do. It just seems like such a cool, laid back, you know. Man, I hear there's a lot of open country out there too. There we go. All right. Maybe this is ground right here. I know, I'm putting in the ground a little bit earlier than I did over here, huh? That's okay. That's okay. We need a shoreline anyways. Okay, so there we go. All right. Now let's get our lighter colored brush. Let's go back up here into this and let's, oh wait, we didn't give it a trunk. How's it going to stand up? Geez, Dale, what are you thinking? Let's give him a little trunk. Just touch and lift, touch and lift, touch and lift. Boom. All right. That'll work. Now he's got a trunk. Now we can highlight him. Okay. So we'll get this and we'll just go right here. We don't want a whole lot of highlights on the trees. A little bit, but remember, evergreens are usually darker than all the rest of the trees. And I'm not going to do any leaf trees today in here. Leaf trees they take up a lot of time, and that's okay, don't get me wrong. But, you know, I'm trying to kind of keep this one just kind of basic. I don't want anybody to get scared off. You know, you hear people all the time saying, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. I always wanted to try. Well, my advice is go for it. Give it a try. See if you love it. You might. And if you do, great. If you don't, that's okay too. Another thing I hear is, oh, I'd never be able to do what you do. Well, I've been doing this for a few years now. I've had practice, and that's all it takes. A desire to do it and a willingness to practice. And it's very easy for me to practice because, to me, this is my peace of mind. This is where I go to just let everything else disappear, and I can just create whatever world I want to create at that time. This is a gift that, art is a gift. Not my ability. Just art in general is a gift to us from above. I say make use of it. This looks a little bit bare back here, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe add another tree right about here. Maybe he's right about there. There we go. Again, kind of a zigzag pattern. There we are. And knife. Where's my knife? Now he's a little further back. You may not see as much detail, and that's okay. But touch, lift, boom, boom. Awesome. I like it. Okay. And where's our highlighter? Get a little more yellow ochre into there. And since I'm adding more paint, I'm going to add a little more oil just to thin it down, just so that the paint will stick. And yeah, that'll work. Okay, now I am going to grab some Cad Yellow, put that in there. I'm going to put that into the mix now, some Cad Yellow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to, with the corner of my brush, touch and lift. And just kind of follow the lay of the land. Now, if you look, I've picked up a lot of that dark color, but you have to have that dark so that the light will show. With no dark, there is no light. If you put, say that Cad Yellow on a stark white canvas all by itself with nothing around it, you know what? Your eye would have a hard time even seeing it. There's some oil and some more Cad. Okay, I'm loading up my brush and with the corner again. Flip it over. And what we're doing is we're building up layers, we're building up textures, and we're making it look like, these could be little flowers or just the ends of blades of grasses that are yellow. There we go. Now I'm wiping it out. Get that dark color off, coming back up here into my light color. And away we go. Okay. Come on now. There we are. I'm just going to bring this on out here. Okay. I'm going to do that over here too. I think I'm going to bring some more of this on down here. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this, doesn't really matter which brush. We really haven't used this 1-inch brush a whole lot yet. So maybe I'll just go with the one I said it's going to be dark. Now I'm going to come right up here and I'm going to decide where I want my reflections to be. All this extra paint I put down here is just to put in some reflections. And we're going to make this tree reflect and this tree reflect. Well, probably not this one, but we'll make this tree reflect because I'm going to put some foreground in here. But right about here is where I want it to. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that paint straight down. See there? Pull it straight down. I'm going to wipe out my brush, come up here, straight down. There we go. Now, I am going to lightly, very lightly, go across. Same with over here, very lightly go across. Okay, boom, looky there. Now I am going to get, we'll just use this shadow color that we had. It's light enough. And I'm going to get that little roll of paint again. And now I'm going to just go, I'm going to take my blade and I'm going to put it flat up against here, just like this, okay? Just like I want to cut that canvas. And then I'm going to tilt it just slightly down. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make a water line. Now the thing with the water lines, you want to keep that you want to keep that knife as parallel to the horizon as you can. Now, if you need to move, like right here, all you got to do is just keep it parallel to the horizon and then bring it on out here. Back it up and bring it over. See what I'm saying? I hope so. Okay, I'm going to get a little more paint here. I'm going to go right back here. There we go. And I think just in this painting, I need to come right back over here. I think this painting is calling for it. There we go. Now if you have too much, just come back with a clean knife and just kind of rub it and pull it on out. There we go. Okay, now how are we going to do our reflections on our trees? I'm going to reflect these two. This one, I think I'm going to have some bushes and stuff right here, so you wouldn't see it so much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dark brush again, and I'm just going to go here, and I'm just going to put in an upside down tree, zigzagging. Maybe a little bit fuller. It doesn't have to be exact. You want it size-wise to make sense, but it does not have to be exact. There we go. This should be a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right. Then let's do it again over here. And this one is going to be a little bit smaller. I'd say right about there. And I'll just make an upside down tree this time. Okay. I'm going to take my highlight brush, come in here, and I don't want to highlight too much because I don't want this smearing a whole lot, but I do want to add a little bit of this color in here. Doesn't have to be exact, like I said. Okay. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that brush that we pulled our reflections down with, and very lightly, I'm going to pull this. Same with this. Straight down. There we go. And now we're going to brush it across. And there we go. I think that will work. All right. We're almost done. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to mix up some more of a dark color. I'm going to take the rest of this olive green and this dark color here. We're going to go with some, now we'll put some blue in there, some Phthalo Blue, some Alizarin Crimson, some burnt Umber, some burnt Sienna, and some black. Basically all the dark colors. Okay. Alright. And I'm mixing that up relatively well. Okay. Awesome. That'll work. Okay. Now, we're finally going to make our dark brush dark. I'm going to pull this on out. I'm going to load up both sides of my brush with a lot of paint. A lot of paint. And then I'm going to, as you see, I've got a lot of paint on there. I'm going to start dragging my brush in one direction. I'm dragging it straight down through that paint. And what I've done is I've rounded this edge. This edge isn't rounded, but this one is. Now I'm going to come up here and I am going to touch the canvas straight on with that rounded edge, boom, and then I'm just going to lift up. I'm not going to move my brush. I'm not going to slide my brush. I'm just going to lift up. Watch. Just go here and lift up and let go. Here, lift up and let go. Here, here. I'm just lifting up and letting go. I'm not sliding my brush. There we go. And I'm going all the way in here. I'm covering this all up down in here, because really this top edge is where it's all at. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're going to use this dark back here too. That's where this really shines. There. Maybe it comes out like this. I mean, just let your imagination run wild. It's your world, right? It's yours, baby. Nobody but yours. Okay. Now, I am going to pick up this Cad Yellow. And maybe I'll put some crimson in it. Just a touch. I don't want to make it look like a fire or anything. Just a touch of that crimson. Just to brighten it up a little bit. Now, there we go. Wipe off my knife. Now I am going to take my lighter colored 1-inch brush and I'm going to dip it in some oil. Not the whole thing, just a corner. Tap off the excess. What I want to do is I want to thin this out. And I might have to add more oil. Now, I actually have some pipettes that I got at Michael's. So I can kind of add oil a little easier here. But only because I don't want to stick this paint covered brush in my oil. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Okay, yeah, that feels better. You can almost feel it. There's, you know, you don't want the drag on it. But I am pulling it through in one direction. In one direction, just like we did before. And I'm getting that heel on there, that rounded edge. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to lightly touch and lift. Touch, lift. There we go. And I'm not covering up all the dark. Remember, the dark is the shadows, and without the shadows, your painting will just look very, very flat. Now, look at the ends of my bristles there. I have dark paint from there. So I'm just wiping off the ends of my bristles. There we are. Come back up here. And I'm just touching it and lifting. And I'm doing this one at a time. Almost like I'm trying to pick out where each branch, or not branch, but each bush is. But maybe each branch of a bush comes out. And don't worry, if you can see the water through here, that's even better. You know? Because up close I can see the water through here. I don't know how it's translating to the camera, but I can see it here, which means if I have this painting up for sale anytime at an art show, they'll see it there too. Okay, there we go. And maybe we'll just, there we go. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to wipe that out. I'm going to wipe that out. I mean, there's still yellow in here, and that's okay. I'm going to come up here with some crimson. Come right down into the crimson. I'm going to get a little bit of oil. Doing the same thing. Might even grab a little bit more of this yellow. Kind of orangey here. Now, I'm not going to use nearly as much, but again, I have that rounded end. And I'm going to just touch here and there. Here and there. Just to add a little bit more color, especially out here on the ends. That's where it'll catch the eye. We'll even add some back in here. And I don't know what kind of plants these are. They're plants that make me happy. All right. Maybe we'll grab some more of that, even with a little bit of that darker color in it. It's okay. Don't fear the colors. There we go. It'll look great. Okay. So there's that. Just wipe out that brush a little bit. Okay, I'm going to grab my fan brush. Oh, there we are. Got my fan brush, and I am putting my fan brush in that oil. And I have that thing loaded down with oil. I am making this paint thin, thin, thin. Almost like ink. There we go. I'm going to come over here and we're going to sign this baby. D C. Boom. So there it is, folks. If you've never painted before, give this one a try. If you've always wanted to do it, always wanted to try it, you can find these paint colors in Winsor & Newton Artisan sets. These are water mixable, which means that you can clean up your brushes with soap and water. So you don't have to worry about, you know, paint thinners and solvents and the fumes and all that. These are much, in my opinion, just much nicer to work with. So, hope you enjoyed it. Now remember, keep looking up, because that is where our strength comes from. And as always, everybody, I love you, and I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.